Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hi everyone. In this video, you're going to see rationalizing the denominator of a surd. So now let's say you get a question and then you do your workings and you get the answer. Now what happens if you get a fraction as your final answer? It's often that you have to give your answer in the simplest form. And by saying the simplest form, let's say you get 6/8 as your final answer. You cannot just simply leave 6/8 as your answer. You have to simplify it by factorizing 2 in your numerator and 2 in your denominator. So now after simplify the fractions, you get 3/4. So this is your final answer. Now what about the surd? So in terms of surds, let's say you have 1/surd5, or maybe you have 1/1 minus surd2. If you get this as your final answer, these are not in their simplest form yet. So what you need to do to simplify the fractions here is to multiply the conjugate. You have to multiply the conjugate. So this process is what we call as rationalizing the denominator. Bear in mind that we only rationalize the denominator when you have surd at the denominator. Now what if I give you 1 minus surd2/3 maybe, or we can have surd5/2. So in this case, you do not have to rationalize the denominator because your denominator here is a rational number. It's already a rational number, so you do not have to rationalize the denominator again, if you get what I mean. Okay? Now let's go to how to do rationalizing the denominator. So now let's say you have a surd here, 2 plus surd3. So to conjugate it, we have 2 minus surd3. So you only change the sign in the middle here. If you have a plus sign here, the conjugate will be 2 minus surd3. Second example, maybe you have -4 minus surd5. So the conjugate will be -4 plus surd5. Remember, just change the sign in the middle of it. So in general, the conjugate of surd A plus surd B is equals to surd A minus surd B. Now let's look at the examples. Rationalize the denominators. So the first one, 8/surd2. So you see here we have a surd at your denominator, so we have to rationalize this. So the conjugate for surd2 is basically surd2/surd2. So if you only have surd only one term at your denominator, you just have to multiply the conjugate itself. So you have surd2 at your numerator and surd2 at your denominator. You don't have to put minus sign here, okay? Okay, next, you have two fractions. This is a fractions. Multiply a fractions. What you need to do is to multiply your numerator with your numerator and denominator with your denominator. You don't have to do cross multiplication, okay? Cross multiplication is when you have addition or subtractions of fractions. Alright, so here when you multiply 8 and surd2, you get 8/2. Surd2 times surd2, remember we have 2. Surd2 squared is 2. So you get this. Now you see here we have 8/2. We can simplify them to be 4/2. So this is your final answer. Now let's go to the second part. Surd2 plus 1/surd2 minus 1. So we only have to rationalize the denominator, not the numerator. So you look at your denominator, we have set 2 minus 1. Therefore, your conjugate is, this is your questions, you just have to copy the question again, multiply with set 2 plus 1, don't forget to change the sign, over set 2 plus 1. Now you have two fractions. This is one fractions and this is another fractions. Just like before, we multiply the numerator with the numerator and denominator with your denominator. Now, if you look at this carefully, this is set 2 plus 1 times set 2 plus 1. So you have to expand the brackets one by one. The same goes to your denominator. So when you do expanding brackets, here we have set 2 squared. Set 2 times set 2 is set 2 squared. Set 2 times 1 we have set 2. Plus set 2 times 1 set 2. Plus 1 times 1 is 1. And your denominator, we have set 2 squared minus 1 squared. So how do I get this? Here we have set 2 minus 1 times with set 2 plus 1. Basically, we can also use the formula a minus b, a plus b. So you have a squared minus b squared. Right, so that's how we get here, set 2 squared minus 1 squared. Or you can simply just expand it one by one and then you simplify it. It's okay. Alright, so when you simplify the expressions, we get set 2 squared is 2. And then set 2 plus set 2 is 2 set 2. And then we have 1. And if you realize here, if you note here, that your denominator now must be a rational number. So the final answer is 3 plus 2 set 2. I remind you again, after you do multiplications of conjugate, your denominator must be a rational denominator. If you still have a surd at your denominator, please double check your workings. There must be something wrong somewhere. Alright, so double check your works. Now we go to a quick check. I'm not going to go through these examples very detailed because I give you the final answer. The answer is 2 minus 2 set 3. But what I need you to think of is the two methods. So there are two methods to solve these questions. Now the first one, if you look at here the first fractions plus another fractions here, we have a surd at your denominator for the first fractions. So the first option, option A, is to rationalize the denominator one by one. It means that here we have to rationalize 1 minus set 3. So you multiply 1 plus set 3 over 1 plus set 3 for the first fractions. And then for the second one, we multiply with 1 minus set 3 over 1 minus set 3. So you solve it separately and then you combine the solutions to get 2 minus 3 as your final answer here. But the second option, option B, what we need to do when you have to add two fractions with different denominators. So you look at here, we have 1 minus 3 and 1 plus 3. To add them together, we have to equate the denominator. We have to do cross multiplications. So here what I did was just simply cross multiply 2 set 3 minus 1 times 1 plus set 3. Plus with 3 set 3, multiply 1 minus set 3. And then we have 1 minus set 3 times 1 plus set 3. You just cross multiply the fractions. So which method do you think the best? Personally, I would choose method B. Because as you can see, at your denominator, we have 1 minus set 3 and 1 plus a 3, they are conjugate to each other. So by right, when you multiply these two together, you should get a rational denominator. I'm not saying that option A is not working. It is working and you can get the same answer. But if you do it very carefully, you're gonna have a quite long solution compared to option B. So it really is up to you. To conclude our lesson in this video, you have seen how to rationalize the denominator. Remember, we only rationalize the denominator when we have a surd at your denominator. It's okay to have your surd at your numerator, but not at your denominator. So to rationalize the denominator, we have to multiply the conjugate. To multiply the conjugate, we only change the sign in the middle of the expression. That's it for this video. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.